Welcome to the Modest Men Podcast with Jason and Justin.
I'm Jason.
I'm Justin.
And we are the Modest Men. You did that shit on purpose.
No, I didn't. What did I do?
It was a straight delay. I saw you. He was like, I said, you said it. I said it just like the Modest Men. And he's like, the Modest Men.
No, we said
like that was intentional. I knew that was intentional.
It was not intentional. I was doing a silent 2 count before I spoke. It's an unspoken 2 count.
Right. Well, I mean, I was looking at you too, and that's the cool part about it. I was looking at you, and I was trying to.
Right.
Here we go. All right. What's going on with you, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good, man. Chilling. Happy International Women's Day to all of our fine women out there.
Happy
moms,
Women's Day.
Wives, kids. You know, we're girl dads out here. In case you guys didn't know, so it's a pretty important day, and you know, There's a lot of work to do. Clearly, there's you know, we need to be more champions for their voices. You know, equal pay, all that good joint.
Yes,
so
yes.
That is huge. You know, not only in the workforce but in sports. You know, media broadcast and all of that stuff, man. We just need, you know, it needs to be equal.
There have been great strides, but we have a long way to go.
Absolutely. And, you know, there's also minority women who, you know, need that spotlight as well, too. And so, you know, like, let's just include them all. It's not, you know, America's Women's Day. It's International Women's Day. And so we need to do some more work on that. So, yeah, we could do a better job on that. Men, especially talking to you.
Oh,
you can do better.
We all can do better.
Yeah. Man, we talked about Genius last week. Did you watch the last episode, of course, right?
Yes, of course. It was what I thought it was going to be. It was...
spazzing.
Yeah, it definitely covered things that we knew happened, but it definitely, you know, there was a lot, you know, with that man that I guess I just took for granted. And just, you know, he's special, but he also, I think, you know, gets in his own way, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, that's the best way for me to sum it up. Like, he's a talented individual, but he's also, it's a challenge for him to keep it all going in the same direction.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, it's tough, man, because, you know, watching that, it's kind of one of those things, right? It's like, okay, worth $10 billion, right? Or, you know, like you want to be a family man. And so, like, those two things right now, you know, or family and friends, man. And, you know, those two things seem like they can't work out and they can't coexist. And, you know, so we'll see. You know, I remember when he was running for president. I remember when he put out the, you know, the God album. Was that Sunday service, and Jesus is King. And, you know, the first thought was like, is this a ploy? You know, but, you know, God has been prevalent in his life, you know, and, you know, it's been so many different things that he has done to make you kind of question what he's doing. But, you know, should we really be questioning him? You know, at this point, you know, he's an artist. He's a performer. And
yeah, he's definitely an artist. It like capital A, artist. Right,
for sure. And so misunderstood, you know, and we knew it too. And it's like, you know, his mom passing away, which was super sad. You know, she passed away, plastic surgery. You know, that was crazy. I remember that, you know, like, and so hearing that 911 call was trippy, you know. Also got to clear this up too, because I was talking about Cootie and Chike, right? Or Shike. But in the pronunciation, when I looked up online, it says Shika, like SHE -KA. So I was trying to give credit, you know, and say his name, pronunciation, his name correctly. But apparently it's Chike. So I don't know, man. If we can get you on the show, that'd be great. So you can give us the proper pronunciation of your name, you know, so we can set the record straight. We still got to reach out to Quittis from MTV, because he's, you know, he got over 200-some thousand followers on MTV. So people still remember him.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't remember your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His mama called him Clay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
man.
call him Clay. So whatever. Chike, Quittis. I apologize for getting those names wrong, but that's
it. I mean, listen, I'm trying to do right by people, you know, and this is our 4th episode, man. Can you believe it? 4th episode. We've been doing this shit for a month.
Have we?
It's been fun.
Yeah, I guess we have.
It's been our first episode was February 10th. Crazy. And I'm gonna ask you about the weather because, you know, I'm pretty sure it's a little wild over there. That's just how's the weather?
That's asking me about the weather is going to get you a boring answer because you already know what's happening here. It's 60 degrees, then it's 30 degrees, then it's 50 degrees, then it's a rainstorm, then it's a snowstorm. So asking me the weather is redundant because it's everything. It's Ohio. It's everything. People always want to leave Ohio because it's always gray. It's always cloudy. It's always cold. It's always rainy. But every once in a while it's nice. But see, people don't understand that either. Like, unless you live in Ohio, like specifically, like driving in Cleveland. I remember coming back from Cincinnati and driving up, you know, 71 and seeing literally like super clear, super green and whatever, beautiful scene. And then you get like on the edge of Cuyahoga County, that shit gray, like never fails. Like, it's just wild. Like, I don't know, man. I was talking to my dad about it earlier today, just saying, you know, deficiency of vitamin D. And, you know, like a lot of people in Ohio who have it, especially in Cleveland, because for some odd reason, Lake Erie likes to put a little gray cloud over and overcast. So I don't know, man. It's just, I had to ask because, you know, I don't miss that shit. So I just. Well, I mean, I've been to California. It's gray in some places too.
Yeah. San Francisco is always great. You know, like Carl the Fog. He's the guy that has a Twitter. The Fog, his name is Carl. That sits over the Bay Area, especially over in San Francisco. Carl is really funny. Y'all need to follow Carl the Fog on Twitter and Instagram. Like, he posts pictures of I'm great today, blah blah blah. Look at me. Oh man, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII, the remake. So I beat it. I bought it for PS4, and I played it. I mean, of course, typical Final Fantasy. When me, you know, we spend at least 115 hours together. I feel like I could do a lot more productive shit, right? But you know, I
always get frustrated and quit. You actually follow through with beating that stuff.
I mean, you know, because I remember playing Final Fantasy VIII and getting all the way down to the end and getting whooped on because I didn't, you know, do enough things to get my XP right. And so, you know, I needed to level up. And so trying to go up there, you know, a level 60 as opposed to being the 99, which you need to, but you need to farm. And so you need to farm XP. And those take hours, so you just got to be out in the desert just fighting the same old shit.
I did not care that much. Like, I cared to play the game, but I did not care to work on my XP and do all of that stuff. Right. I mean, I could say the same thing with like building up our Pokemon. Like, I did not care to level up as high as I could. I was just wanting to play the game sometimes. Right.
No, I feel you. Like, listen, Pokemon, I remember Pokemon Go was crazy. That was what, you know. Shout out Chris Duncan. That dude still plays Pokemon Go.
A lot of people still do that, man. Like, literally, when I was at work at Butcher and the Brewer, people walking down East 4th, or, you know, the actual workers walking through the restaurant playing Pokemon Go. I'm like, they still do that? Yeah. They still do that, bro. Walking down the street, not looking at nothing. They trying to catch the Pokemon. And it'd just be some lame grass types or whatever. It don't even be nothing special. But apparently, a lot of Cleveland is Pokemon Go territory.
So I had a training center in my bathroom at my old store. Like, someone literally put a training center in the, in the public bathroom. Oh, that shit was great, man. I was like, come on, you did not do that. Oh, it was wonderful. Yeah, man, we play this damn game, man. It's wild. Like, you know, so the PS5, they have this thing called Intergrade. And so it's literally like an intermission going on to the next thing. And so it's a whole, you know, I'm only on chapter 2 and I got maybe 8 hours in.
Okay.
And like, you just look at the graphics, like the one for PS4 was so great. And then it's like this one specifically for PS5. And it's so real. Like, I mean, it's wild. Like, Rock was looking at the shit. She was like, the cutscenes and the actual gameplay don't differ at all. You remember back in the day, the cutscenes used to be so sweet. It's like, oh, look at this. And it kind of looked realistic. And then the game was, you know, looking like old 10-yard fight on NES. Yeah, you don't know about any 10-yard fight. Y'all know about Tecmo Bowl, but not 10-yard fight. But anyway, that's been fun. And then just came back from Ryan's T-ball practice today. And so that was a little wild. These little 5 and 6-year-old kids and running around, and it's so cute, man. Like, they learned how to catch the ball and trying to throw the ball to each other. And I don't know. I think Ryan might be left-handed. She's right, but she doesn't look so confident throwing right-handed. Yeah, so I might be able to hopefully switch her to throw to left, because that'd be sweet.
Well, and it's hard because you never really know.
It's teachable.
You never really know. And it's like, do they suck with one hand versus the other, or are they just not coordinated, or just good at throwing in general? So you might as well just try to see if you excel with one versus the other. Because my father thought I was right-handed and I was just terrible at baseball, and he's like, well, I guess I'll see if he can do it left-handed. You just got to try it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, my dad taught me everything right-handed. So, how to swing a bat, boxing stance. I was, in a traditional stance. And so I'm unorthodox. I lead with my left as my lead hand, and it's also my strongest hand. So yeah. So we'll see. Your girl's still doing ballet?
Yeah, she's still, what do you call it? So it's jazz. There's a jazz class, and then it's contemporary. So she's not in the traditional ballet where it's the slow piano music. It'll be some sort of contemporary upbeat music, and then jazz. So they still they perform in different outfits, but it's still different forms of jazz. It's just not the traditional on your toes dance. It's more contemporary dance. It has the same elements of classical ballet, if you will. It's just not true to the form. Because it gets the kids into it, having different music, and it not be the boring versions of it. But they give the kids the options of different avenues, trying out ballet where it just doesn't have to be pointy toe, extension, all that jazz. So, but no, I can't get her really back into sports. She tried many different sports. The last recent one was lacrosse, and she something for a couple weeks, and then she never really falls in love with any sport, so she'll easily just be done with it.
Okay, well, she has a passion in dance. That's cool. Did she ever done like tap dancing, or it's just like ballet?
Just ballet. Yeah, not really tap. She doesn't really care for tap or anything like that.
Okay.
So far, but who knows?
Those aren't spear fingers. These are spear fingers.
I don't think she knows what that is yet.
You need to show those movies, man. Oh my gosh, we got a fun-filled episode for you guys today. So a lot of good things that happened today, a lot of surprising things. A few teams traded their farms, and I'm speaking specifically NFL. Big trade today. Russell Wilson is now a Denver Bronco.
Danger Russ.
And so, yes, Sierra signed off on going to Denver, and Denver is a pretty cool city. That's what I hear. It's pretty high in altitude, mile high, 5,280 feet. It's a lot of Jesus. Yeah. It's crazy. Seattle they got the farm. So Drew Lock, Noah Fant, which is very surprising. Shelby Harris, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks in the 5th round. And Denver gets Russ in the 4th round pick. They pulled the fire alarm.
It was to this year's number 9 first round pick and next year's first round pick. Oh my gosh. And then the 2nd round pick is the 40th pick. So they get 2 picks this year and 2 picks next year. It's crazy. So you're thinking they turn around and, either go, well, I feel like getting Kenny Pickett at 9 is pretty high. Probably. Right? It's going to be a quarterback at that. It has to be, and it could be Wilson or the kid from Liberty, too. Right. Oh yeah. Malik Willis. Willis, yeah. That dude, I was watching him at the combine. He was throwing 75-yard bombs with ease, and I was like, oh yeah, he looks confident. But yeah, it's rebuild time apparently for Seattle. It's sell the farm, sell all your property, leave now. They. Early as we were getting ready to set this up. I believe they're going to release, the linebacker, Bobby Wagner.
Yeah. Wild. So the Browns make a call for DK.
They should. They definitely should.
Yeah, they should. 100%.
And this news trumped the previous news, which was Aaron Rodgers signing, right?
Yeah, and that was the reason why the Broncos went ahead and pulled the fire alarm, because Rodgers re-signed for, allegedly, it was for 4 years, $200 million, with it was $50 million a year, and $153 million guaranteed. Yeah, and Pat McAfee, we talked about you last week. Pat
the punter.
You broke the news. That is amazing. Your new best friend, he called you and let you know what he was doing. And so he broke the news before he beat Adam Scheffler. He beat Ian Rappaport, all the media news sites. And so that was big in the podcast world. So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers went on to say later, he's like, hey, everyone, I wanted to clear some things up. Yes, I'll be playing for the Packers next year. However, the reports about me signing the contract is inaccurate, and the supposed terms of the contracts that I signed is inaccurate. So, but I'm very excited to be back. He's going to win an Academy Award for that.
I hope Jordan Love didn't buy a house yet.
Yeah.
It's going to be a while.
Yeah. Right. Oh, my gosh. So, I mean, it's huge for, $50 million a year is crazy, right? Like, I mean, Pat is getting 45. Josh Allen is getting 43. So, I mean, they're breaking the bank, The problem is that signing a deal with, $153 million guaranteed, and $50 million a year on the books, like, are you going to be able to sign Devontae Adams? But I think it might not be 50. But I think there's, it's interesting. We'll see what happens. Aaron Jones is there for another year or two because he just signed the extension.
Yeah, they were saying this contract is going to free up room for them to at least franchise tag Devontae this year.
Okay. Which is, top 5, receiver salary averaged. Because, I mean, that's what happened with Njoku, and it kind of set the market for tight ends as well, too. David Njoku plays for the Browns, was receiving $6 million last year, got franchise tagged for $11 million, and he turned down a deal that was worth $10 million a year. So, but there's a few tight ends out there that are now going to set the market as far as the tight end pay. So, we'll see. Man. And so that we thought those was big news or whatever, but the news hit us yesterday with Calvin Ridley's suspension, and that was wild. Oh my gosh, that was so crazy.
It's not a good time for Alabama wide receivers, is it?
No, not at all. Speaking of, man, listen,
I'm just saying.
Judy had something to say. He had a sad face because he wasn't getting Aaron Rodgers, and then he was like, "Oh, it's lit" when they signed Russ. Yeah, so Calvin Ridley, Atlanta Falcons receiver, suspended for the entire 2022 season. Essentially, the NFL came out with a statement that said the activity took place during a 5-day period in late November, while Calvin Ridley was not with the team, and he was away from the club facility in a non-allegedly football illness list. So Calvin Ridley played 5 games last season and took a step away from football to focus on his mental health. And then he wasn't playing with the team. And so apparently he traveled to Florida, allegedly, used an illegal sports gambling site, FanDuel, and placed a $1,500 wager for a parlay. Okay. His account was flagged by a group that the NFL pays to monitor potential player activity, and then boom, suspension. The NFL released a statement saying that there was no inside information. Yeah, well, I mean, that's why you need to go to the symposiums.
He clearly had no idea that they were monitoring stuff like that, because you just wouldn't do something like that if you knew that you could get caught. So he obviously didn't think anything was going to happen to him. He thought it was harmless, clearly.
For sure. The worst part about it is that he man, listen, this guy had a parlay and he betted on his own team to win.
To win while he didn't play? That makes no sense. Like, you had no... you were the best receiver left on the team.
That was not a smart bet. Clearly.
He bet on his team when he wasn't playing, and he's the best receiver on the team.
Didn't bet against them. He bet on them to win this parlay. So clearly the odds were really good for him to take 1,500 and win some change. But, that's hustling backwards. This guy had, $1,500 bet just cost him $11 million. And he has no chance of appeal. He can appeal and he can do the reinstatement appeal. Well, I guess the committee to do for his reinstatement next year. So this season is washed. There's been 5 players in the NFL that's been suspended for gambling. So that's a big no-no. And yeah, you shouldn't do that. Like, at least, in the context of betting on.
Well, right, because he has inside information, especially the fact that he bet on his team to win. Like,
right.
There's so many things that go against that. It's almost like the insider trading thing. Like, there's so much that he already knows about the league, or he could have known about matchups that a regular Joe wouldn't know. And while they're saying he didn't use any information, he was just making bets to make bets. And then to turn around and say he doesn't have a problem. Yeah, you didn't spend big money, but the fact that you even thought that this was an okay thing to do in your off time, so you just felt like doing it, or is this just the first time you got caught doing it?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that was the first time that he got flagged for it, because if he didn't get flagged for it before, he'd still be playing. So it's a little weird. I mean, you can go to, casinos, etc., do every other thing except bet on professional sports, especially when it has to do with your team. NFL, like I said, they released a statement saying that there was no insider trading information shared, at least from the findings that they have. So it's just a bad bet. Bad beats.
just stupid. Just dumb decisions.
Yep. I mean, it's now at this point, you got to wonder if his NFL career is over.
Although I gotta say, and it's been talked about, that the NFL came down on this man so hard when they're so light on other offenses, whether it's marijuana, the domestic abuse stuff. Like, they're barely suspending PEDs. They're barely suspending these guys for 6 games, and then they appeal, they get off, they get back on the field for offenses that are far worse than this.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
They're like laying the wood down and dropping the hammer on this man for something that wasn't even criminal technically.
Yeah, just for context, I mean, there's you got Ray Rice, Zeke got 6 games. Tom Brady got 4 games for Deflategate, which, by the way, that's a whole other discussion we need to talk about.
Cheating.
Oh, that's a whole Tom, you got to come back, man. To get it.
He's coming back. He said he was just retiring from the Buccaneers. He didn't really retire. He's just taking a break. He laying low. He's probably going to take Jimmy's spot, and Trey's going to be sitting there. I mean, or unless he goes and takes Kyler's spot. But no, Tom's coming back. He ain't done.
Yeah. Man, that was crazy. So Deflategate was a farce, because anyone with any kind of scientific background, especially if you learn in 5th, 6th grade education, knows that literally PSI and things of that nature decrease in cold weather and increase in warm weather. Apparently, Troy Vincent in the league office decided to destroy that information. So it was a witch hunt. So that information came out 2 weeks after Brady decided to retire. And I hope he makes his way to San Francisco. Although I hear that, he has a bone to pick with them because they decided not to trade for him 2 years ago. So, but have you known, you should have known Garoppolo wasn't the answer.
Right.
So, yeah, whatever. Draft Combine, it was kind of crazy. It's one of my favorite times of the year. I did not see what Rich Eisen ran in his 40, but Rich always runs his 40 and, his cleats and his suit. And he runs for a super awesome organization in charity. But yeah, talk of the town, Jordan Davis, that guy from the national championship team, Georgia Bulldogs, is a monster. He's a D tackle. He's 6'6", 341. and that dude ran a 4.78 in the 40-yard dash. 4.78 seconds at 341 pounds.
Maybe they started his clock early.
No, that's official time.
Maybe
right? That was official time.
Maybe they were snacking on some goldfish and their finger slipped on the clicker when they were stopping the stopwatch. No,
right?
Oh, he's actually
that was official. That was official. That was official time. I watched that dude run, and they had it from the angle of where the actual finish line was in the 40, and you seen this dude running towards you, and he's like full on sprint. And I was like, that's a scary motherfucker, like legit. Like that dude, I don't want to be a quarterback.
And where did he go to school?
Georgia.
Oh yeah,
Georgia. He's a bulldog
there.
Yeah, they do. I mean, he makes his line mate. He's another D tackle, and he's like 320. He makes him look small. Yeah, he makes him look like a little guy. This dude is a freak. Not only that, he also had a broad jump, standing broad jump of 10 feet 10 inches. Well, 10 feet 3 inches, which is a record. By the way, that dude is a freak. Like, it's been only literally 5 people who have literally broke the 5-second mark when it's wild. Most notably, Greg Robinson, our old offensive lineman, and Dentari Poe. Those are 2 guys that were over 330 pounds who broke, under 5 seconds. Wow. It's very rare. Yeah, that dude is crazy. VTech, it was a dude, Amari Barno. This dude ran a 4.36 in his 40. For context, it would have placed him 3rd among receivers. A 242-pound defensive lineman and edge rusher. I have no words for that. You don't teach that kind of speed. No. That dude is.
There's a kid this year that ran. He was Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen from Texas San Antonio, 6'4", 220 something pounds, and he ran a 4.2.
Crazy. I mean, and I got a bone to pick about unofficial time, official time, because it was some extreme variations for that. The one kid, what was his name? Kalon Barnes. He ran it from Baylor. He ran a 4.23, and that was the second fastest time in combine history. Chris Olave, the Ohio State University star receiver. My wife calls him Big Head because he got a big ass helmet. Like, this dude's head's like that. Like, I don't know why his helmet's so big. Like, he looks like, you remember the big heads off of the Big Head coat on NBA Jam? Like, my dude's head is like this big, right? Like, I mean, he's a great receiver. He ran a 4.26 initially. And that was his unofficial time. And his official time was a 4.38. And I didn't understand that because Garrett Wilson ran a 4.37, another Ohio State receiver, and his was corrected to, or 4.38, and his got corrected to 4.37. So I don't know what was going on with the unofficial times. Like, Olave looked extremely fast. Yeah, it was wild to see that. I was really excited about that.
All these guys will be Al Davis picks.
Oh, for sure, right?
And that means, Al Davis was notorious for drafting guys who were really, really fast, and that's all they could do was run fast. He honestly barely looked at any of the game film to see if he could run routes or catch passes. Sorry, Hayward Bay, that means you.
Hayward Bay, that's the first part that I was thinking of. Yeah,
Darius Hayward Bay, I believe.
Yeah,
couldn't catch a cold.
Not at all. Ended up going to the cold and going to the Steelers, and he didn't last really long. It was 31 players who ran a sub 4.4.
Yeah, I saw that.
And 3 broke 4.3 seconds. Like, I mean, that's just fast. Like, that's not normal. That's not normal speed. Like, these kids are something else. Evolution. And they're big, Desmond Ridder, the quarterback from Cincinnati, he ran a 4.52, which I didn't realize he was that fast.
Sneaky fast.
Yeah. Right? Sauce Gardner, man, that dude had a hell of a combine. He he already really didn't have any completions against him in his collegiate career,
now,
which is crazy.
His official government name or is that a nickname?
What is it? Ahmad?
Oh, okay. Well, because I looked on NFL.com and it said Sauce Gardner. I'm like,
yeah. Well, I mean, you earn those nicknames. I was watching Deion. He was on Fallon, and he was talking about, Fallon said, Neon Deion. It's like, nah, don't call me Neon Deion. He's like, I earn prime time. And they was calling me prime time because I was dropping 35 in high school playing basketball. He's like, they tried to push that Neon Deion on me. He's like, no, I earned that prime time. He's like, so call me Coach Prime. And he needs to take it easy too. He got 2 of his toes amputated, which is
that
crazy.
why he's been pushing the scooters and wheelchairs? Because he had
so he had surgery, and then I guess he had some complications from the surgery, and so he got 2 of his toes amputated on that foot, which is wild. Yeah, so he needs to take it easy, man. Coach Prime. Who else we had out there? David Ajobo, right? And Aiden Hutchinson, who are 2 guys who are going to go top 10, from the school up north. We won't mention their actual name. TTUN. Yes, of course, right? And then Kayvon Thurberdo from Oregon. It was
Thibodeau.
The guy who...
Not Thibodeau?
Is it Thibodeau? It may be Thibodeau. Oh, you know what? It is Thibodeau. Excuse me. And it's funny too, because I saw that shit too, and I said Thibodeau, but I didn't say that shit correctly on the broadcast.
he may come back and be like Thibodeau.
Yeah, the joke's on me. Right? Who the Browns taking at 13?
So I just saw another mock draft that has us not picking a wide receiver. I saw it said it was some edge rusher, and I don't know who he was, but the comment for it was, our analytic based theory of draft picks will have us stock up on linemen, on D linemen. And I was just like, it's so obvious that we need to pick a wide receiver, but it should be. For me, it would be Olave. A lot of the drafts have Wilson. I'll take whoever's the best one available and let it happen.
Drake London, they've been talking high on him, right?
Yeah, I fully believe it should be a receiver. It wouldn't surprise me if it was another edge rusher. I mean, they haven't really, done anything that we didn't like, considering, they picked up JOK, and that was a steal. So they will fully take the best person at 13 and not reach.
Sure.
It's just, we shouldn't even have that pick because we should have gave it to Seattle.
I've been campaigning to go get Russ. I have, man. I firmly believe that we could have worked out some kind of deal. We could have packaged Baker and, a 3rd round pick this year, our first for, 2023, and maybe another 2nd round pick or whatever. We needed a real quarterback to go out and go win that joint, and because we need to get a receiver. Like I wouldn't have traded this year's 1st round pick because we need a receiver. If we don't get a receiver, unless we go get DK, and then that makes sense. Then that's like, okay, whatever. I can go get a defensive lineman, but I mean, even with that, man, I would go get another receiver. Like if you gonna get DK, might as well get another receiver.
Dallas can keep drafting wide receivers. We can go get it.
For sure.
As we need.
I mean, I don't think Juice is going to be there, unfortunately. I wish he would be there for another year, but, it's from all talks that I hear. He's probably out of there, whatever.
I don't know. It's what can we do, right? I mean, it's part of the business. It's contracts. It's younger, cheaper. It's always, they're always looking 2 steps ahead. Are people long-term future? Are they short-term? Are they right now? Are they the building blocks? Are they a key asset? I mean, we already talked about Bobby Wagner and Russ leaving. Like, they were the staples of Seattle for decades, but at some point,
for sure,
you turn the page. So I don't want to lose Juice, but it looks like they might be turning the page to save salary.
Yeah. I mean, here's one, and this is, I'll say this as loud and clearly as possible. Analytics only work for certain, like ranges, and, like it only works for certain purposes. Fuck analytics if we've been literally the worst, team in the past decade. Statistically, we've had the worst record. We've lost over 100 games over the past decade. Statistics don't work for us. I've seen players leave the Browns organization during that time frame and become Pro Bowlers. All pro guys. Jordan Poyer first got to come to mind, right? We didn't.
He couldn't even be on the field for us, and now he's a key part of Buffalo's defense and their secondary.
Absolutely. Perennial Pro Bowler, all pro guy, Jordan Poyer. We're not going to mention anything else about Jordan Poyer because you guys all know about the rest of that. So you can do
he's
research
winning that life for sure.
Jordan Poyer.
He's having a good life.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
It's not all bad in Buffalo.
So no, not at all. Buffalo got some great fans, man. They do. I would cheer for them to win the Super Bowl after we win one. Okay, that's the pecking order. Okay, yeah, they got a great fan base. Man, we always seem to be breaking news on this show, right? So our first episode, what was the first thing that we talked about?
The trade deadline. We were talking about the NBA trade deadline.
Yeah,
because
crazy.
The Harden-Simmons thing happened literal minutes before our first recording.
That was fun. We was trying to get all caught up in the details of that. Brooklyn's bad, but you know what? It doesn't matter. They got the type of talent that, it's just about them actually not even getting the play-in game. If they could stay out of the play-in game, they're coming out the East. I mean, you got Kyrie, and I think they've held him back as long as enough as possible that he can at least get through a playoff run. KD is KD, right? That guy, he's special, and he's once in a generational talent. The only thing that doesn't work for KD is that he's always hurt, and that's a big body, man. 7 foot, and he doesn't have a lot of muscle to him, and there's a lot of jumping around being a 7-footer, and that's what's going on with him. He can't stay healthy. And especially when you have an injury like an Achilles or a foot injury and, like all on the same leg, all of those ligaments and so forth, they all work together. So, he's kind of disintegrating at that. But, if he can get to a playoff run, you seen what he did last year. I mean, he didn't have any help because Harden just came back from a hamstring injury and KD was putting up, all-time great performances and they just couldn't pull it out, But I firmly believe they got a couple of key pieces in that. Like, just for context as well, too, they've lost 17 to 20 games. And so it hasn't been good since he's been out.
Like you said, he's a walking bucket. Kyrie just scored 50 tonight. They're still hoping that something can change to where he's a full-time player instead of, him being a part-time asset. But they still have to put it all together. Ben Simmons is claiming he had back trouble and whatever else to avoid playing in certain cities. So they still have, they got to gel. Meanwhile, if you look on the other aspect of it, Harden played, I think it's been 5 games and he looks like Houston James Harden. And it's the first time Joel Embiid has had a real sidekick that he could rely on. That's another, they finally cashed in whatever chips and, whatever this process is supposed to be. Well, the process is now it's going to be Joel and James Harden. And, it's another guy. Well, I don't know if 2 guys who flamed out in the playoffs equals, playoff success, but if they lean on each other and it looks the way it's looking, they've gone up to the 2 seed, since Harden was acquired. So from their side, it's definitely working. And like you said, with Brooklyn's side, they're hoping it works when they're all together. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will put my money on Brooklyn if I was a betting man. Which I am. I'm not gonna shy away from that. Not big money. It's a couple. Throw a few coins in the air and see if I can get back a couple of bills. Like, I'm not. But James Harden got to prove something to me, man. It was very similar to Matt Stafford, right? Like, show all this, regular season, great success,
a lot of accolades, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that means nothing to me. You need to go win when your team is, in the trenches and then they're counting on you to be the superstar to carry them over the threshold, and you consistently underperform, you know, like, I don't want to hear shit about what's going on with you in the regular season. If you can't get these teams, you know, to the you know, the pyramid, it doesn't matter. Now, I will say that Joel Embiid might be, obviously, he most likely be MVP this season.
I would say so.
I mean, he's been playing out of his mind. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the kind of foregone conclusion. However, I think he may be able to carry Harden, you know, when the time comes. But, you know, we'll see, man. I think that, you know, pieces wise, they got a lot of great talent around there. I mean, Tobias Harris, you know, is there. Tyrese Maxey, which all the kids right now, you're seeing a whole bunch of Tyrese and Jalen's and yeah. I mean, just, you know, their moms listen to Sweet Lady and was, you know, Fab Five guys, you know, but, you know, just.
But yeah, they have a lot of nice parts and pieces, but we also know who their coach is, and he has a lot of flameouts in the playoffs too.
Yeah. Oh Lord, have mercy. I see them too.
You know, our third,
if they're working,
third president, Doc Rivers, third black president.
Yeah, right. Man, Doc needs some halls, man.
Yeah, he definitely always sounds like he's 2 sips away from not having a voice, that he just, you know. Yeah.
He needs some Ricola, all right? Like, I always love seeing him with Shaq in the food, too, when somebody does something stupid. And Doc has his face. Like, it's... Lord have mercy. I'm not counting out the Bucks, man. You know, the Bucks look nice right now. But, you know, those are the 2 teams that are, you know, if it was a 2-man race, you know, horse race, that's what I'll put my money on, seeing in the Eastern Conference Finals. So no disrespect to the Miami Heat. Cavs are a couple pieces away. Not much, but, you know, they're a young team. Garland had a ball today, too. Shout out Darius Garland, the all-star, showing his ass.
41-13.
Yep, that was beautiful. Love to see that. Man, the LA Lakers. Oh, Lord have mercy. First part of this will be a LeBron James appreciation post. Okay, like the kid from Akron, man, he is averaging. He's second in, you know, scoring in the league at 29.5 points a game. He just dropped a 56-point, you know, 10-board gem on Saturday against the Warriors. You know, that was beautiful. You know, Bron he's been a model of consistency his entire career, and, you know, you're seeing the best thing that he can do right now, and it's getting diminished right now because they're a really bad basketball team. And you know, I don't think that's ultimately fair. And, you know, you seeing it, that's a whole bunch of shade going on right now too, which is really strange.
Well, I hear you, and it may not be fair, but we all know GM LeBron put this team together. He signed off on Westbrook instead of DeRozan. He signed off on selling everybody for Anthony Davis.
I mean, so here I'm gonna interject on that, because, like, Anthony Davis, that's not a bad move. They got a championship out of it, right? And they got a championship. Like, that's the ultimate goal. You get a championship, right? We went and got Kevin Love, and we got a championship. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of, you know, correlation that you want with that. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, Rob Pelinka is the GM. You know what I mean? And, you know, he's the one that's actually making the decisions. And if you're talking to your superstars, as you should, letting them know, hey, what your future plans are, you know what I mean? Like, if they say yes, like, because that's the only move we can make, then it's like, okay, well, fine. You know, like, because you're going to go get Russell Westbrook as opposed to getting Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield isn't even a starter. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense, you know, in that regard, just given what the market was out there for those. But, I mean, I would have loved to see DeRozan in there, but who knows what actually the scheme of Frank Vogel wanted to do anyway. And so that's also the other part. But at the end of the day, LeBron is 203 points away from passing Karl Malone officially on a regular season scoring list, and 1,600 points away from passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the regular season all-time scoring leader. By the way, he has already surpassed him as the number one scorer in NBA history, playoff stats, playoff points and regular season points combined, just for the record. Here's an interesting stat, and I know he's been playing for a long time as well too, but I mean, he's literally 37 threes away from bumping his favorite arch nemesis out of the top 10 spot, and that is Paul Pierce.
They do hate each other. Like they legit. Oh man, it's passionate. Yeah, Paul Pierce, that's why he's not on NBA on ESPN, because that dude is he living his good life too. I'm not mad at him for that, but not everyone could be analyst. Okay, let's be real here. He said a lot of unbelievable shit on why he was on air. It was clickbait. It was definitely clickbait. It was to get
he had LeBron James out of his top 10.
Just holding a grudge.
Like, I was like, bro, like, it was my favorite scene from NBA All-Star Weekend was when they was doing the top 75 and Ray Allen comes out, right? And Ray sees Bron and they give daps like crazy, and KG and Paul Pierce are next to each other and they had the after fist, bro. Like, they were squeezing their fists and they was just so mad, man. Like, they still so mad at Ray Allen, I saw a picture of them all later together, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, but yeah, that was wild.
But to pull it back to the Lakers. So we were talking the good things about LeBron, but on the adverse side, they are 27-35 or whatever they are. It's bad. They're 8 games under 500.
It's bad.
The coach is going to get fired. It's not his fault. He's whether he's willing to, have Russ come off the bench, or if Russ is going to accept that. There's just the roster construction was not a good idea. Everybody gets injured, so it just made it worse for rotations. And
right,
it's Bron is playing the 5. Bron is doing whatever he's got to do to win, but it's a shame because while he's racking up the points and everything, it's also putting mileage on him that shouldn't really had to have happened if everything played out the way it was supposed to. He was supposed to be passing the torch. He was supposed to be, easing into getting all these points. Like, these are not easy points he's getting. These are hard possessions, and he's taking 31 shots, and it's lots of minutes, playing all 4 quarters, playing every game, not just taking some nights off. Of course, he's gonna play the Warriors, but it's gonna wear on him. Even if he can get him there, he's gonna try to get him into the playoffs because they tried last year in the play-in tournament. So, I don't doubt that. It's just
and they got in. They played against Phoenix, and Phoenix is a hell of a team,
ropes, right? And so,
and they could have won until Anthony Davis got hurt. And I'm extremely disappointed in Anthony Davis and his off-season regimen. Like, there's no reason why you should be so injured so often. And I think the other part too is that, like, you should never be playing in Kobe's. You're a 7-footer. The Kobe low tops, like, Kobe made high tops for a reason, which was awesome. Those are the 9s or the 10s. I had to do my research on that. Sneakerheads, don't get at me on the Kobe's. I think they were the 9s. They were the high tops. They had the snake skin joints. Them boys are beautiful. All right. But I can't remember if they're the 9 or the 10s, but he should be playing in those, not the low top joints. Okay. And, like, the last one when he got hurt, he rolled his ankle in the opposite way. I thought he broke it, but that's typical. Like, every time you see Anthony Davis go off for a rebound and he just happens to get fouled and he falls down, you think that he broke something, and it usually has to do with his lower extremities. So, Vogel, unfortunately, he's going to be, the one that gets the boot. I think it was a tough position for him anyway, just because you think about what kind of lineups that you had. Like, Kendrick Nunn hasn't played, at all this season. Trevor Ariza came in. He played, I think, a few games, but he just got back to the team in January. AD has missed significant time. Bron has missed significant time. And then you're not getting the production from, Carmelo missed some time, and you got to play with the pieces that you have. And that, unfortunately, is Russell Westbrook right now, who's having a pretty bad season. And, unfortunately, man, I think that with Russ, it's kind of sad to, I don't want to have him be the scapegoat, because, Steph is shooting 43% from the field. Actually, he's shooting 41% from the field, and Russ is shooting 43%. But the shots that he's throwing up is so disappointing, because that he can blow past the guy, right? Take somebody off the dribble. And for some odd reason, we've seen time and time again where he literally dribbles to the hole, and then for some odd reason, he backs out and wants to do a pull-up. And it's those shots that he used to make, he doesn't make those shots anymore. And so it's wearing on him. Like I said, the lights are pretty bright in LA for him and his family. I'm gonna play this a little bit real quick, because I was watching the post game, and this really got to me. And it shouldn't, but at the end of the day, let's just tune into what he's saying.
Kind of let it go in the past, just because it never really bothered me, but it really kind of hit me the other day. Honestly, I was, me and my wife was at teacher parent conference for my son. And the teacher told me, she's like, Noah, he's so proud of his last name. He writes it everywhere. He writes it on everything. He tells everybody, he walks around and says, I'm Westbrook. That's his last name. And I kind of sat there in shock, and it hit me like, damn, like I can no longer allow people, for example, Westbrook to me is now shaming, like it's shaming my name. It's my legacy for my kids. It's a name that means more, not just to me, but to my wife, to my mom, my dad, the ones that kind of paved the way for me. And that's just one example, man. That kind of hit myself and my wife in a place where it's not great, man. And I think a lot of times, I let it slide, but it's now time to put a stop to that and put it on notice. Like, there's a difference.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
Well, right,
it's tough. I feel it, man.
And it's the players are close enough that they can hear the hecklers, because those hecklers are sitting baseline, and they do have a freedom of speech to say things, but like, it still hurts. And those guys try to shrug it off, but when it now trickles down to your family, and you think about what those hecklers are saying, and then how your kids are reacting, whether it's at school or what have you, that's a big deal. And it is very unfortunate that he has to stand up for himself and say, you guys shouldn't, like, that's disrespectful, which it is. It absolutely is, because he is an elite athlete and he is struggling, but he's still of the 1% that can do what they're doing for a living, which is playing a kid's game. And he's not perfect, but he's pretty damn good, and only 32, and they're treating him like he's washed at 42. And it's crazy.
There's over 5,000 players who have played in the NBA, right? And he's regarded as one of the all-time 75, best players in NBA history. Think about that. It's unfortunate, and think about his kids, getting ridiculed potentially, right? And Ragnar, because your dad plays in the NBA and he's an all-time great, and he's struggling a little bit, so they're going to say Westbrook. So now that's going to carry on to bullying. Can you imagine getting bullied for some bullshit like that? Like, that's crazy to me, right? But I know it, and I understand it happens, right? So, like, I get that. The lights are bright for us and his family, man, and it's unfortunate that that's actually something that's going on. But at the end of the day, it is a game. You are the elite of elites, and like, he's been no stranger to fan controversy. You know, he had the incident in Utah with the fans and the hecklers. Like when he's in OKC, he's had those situations. So like I understand like he can be a little, you know, on edge about that. But you know, a couple weeks ago the LA fans were booing, and you know, like it's not pretty at all right now in LA. So it's not a good situation for him. And you know, we all knew that it wouldn't possibly work. We tried to see if it would just, you know, put everything in a blender, see if it works out. Unfortunately, it's not working out. And, you know, this guy is now, you know, a role player now, you know, and he's never felt comfortable in that offense, you know, and on his team, unfortunately. And as much as Brian, you know, and Russ, you know, Brian and AD and everybody else tried to support him in that, you know, it sometimes coming home, you know, playing for your home team wasn't necessarily the best thing. Best thing for Russ, you know, and I think we said this earlier before the trade deadline, him going back to OKC and going to a fan base that loved him will be the perfect opportunity for him.
Maybe he will, but I mean, they got to get through this season. I mean, he's still got the huge contract. It's still, it's literally an immovable object to get that contract to just go wherever.
For sure.
So they either cut him or he'd have to be traded back for the same value just to go back to being in a place where he can be happy. Not saying he's not happy in LA, but he's going through some shit. So it's just right.
No, for sure.
Speaking of going through some shit, if I may transition, we're talking about LA and we talked about Philly. I'd like to talk about a show that kind of correlates with what's happening here with both of those cities that we just mentioned. And, you know, there's a remake of, you know, one of our favorite childhood, many people's favorite childhood shows, which was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And they decided to do this remake on the Peacock network, and it's definitely got a different spin on it, but, you know, still has the same storyline, I guess, with a new spin that we, you know, making it culturally relevant to today's, you know, times and everything that's going on. What were your first impressions of Bel-Air?
You know, it's just right for the time period. I think I said that before. My favorite show right now is All American. I love that show.
That's a great show.
It's an explicit All American. It's a great show. Like, I mean, like right now, Bel-Air is the explicit All American. I mean, there's a heavy dose of cussing and Meek Mill and like, man, I love it. It's great. It's great.
Shout
for
out
the
to
time
Freeway
frame.
in the first episode is the coach on West Philly's basketball
right?
team.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Right. That was funny. Meek Millie. You know, you saw like people popping willies. You know what I mean? Like, because they do. You know, on Broad Street, right? Like that's they do those things. You know, the soundtrack has been great. What I love about the show, you know, I'm gonna name a few things. I love Aunt Viv, right? I love Hillary. I love Jeffrey. Jeffrey is awesome, right? Like Jeffrey
looks like he could be a secret agent. Like he works. Like Jeffrey looks like he came from like the Kingsman movies.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Jeffrey was, you know, British, and you know, not saying that in Jamaica there's not a British influence, but you know, he's definitely Jamaican, and he plays no games. All right, he reminds me of one of the guys off of Hard to Kill with Steven Seagal back in the day. One of them Jamaicans.
Not
they didn't fuck
Jamaicans
around.
from Bad Boys 2, but the actual Jamaicans.
No. We need the real Jamaicans, man. Off of Hard to Kill. That was one of the great Steven Seagal movies. All right, you know, before he went into his old crazy roles. You know, Will is actually a really good character, man. He's you know, playing Will Smith. He's doing a great job on the show. I'm not mad at it. We need more Jazzy Jeff. I love the whole thing with the record store. I love him being an Uber driver. Like, that's fun. You know, and I think him being in a record store pays homage to, you know, DJ Jazzy Jeff, you know, world champion, Grammy Award winning, you know, producer and DJ. I need to see more of that, and I'm hopeful that we will. The casting has been on point. They had Trey. And Trey is funny because Trey, it was one episode, he looked like Don Cheadle. And I was like, he looks like Don Cheadle. He looks like a young Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle played Ice Tray, you know, in the original show, and he was there for an episode. Like, I thought he was spot on. And, you know, I'm a little meh on Uncle Phil, but he's starting to warm up with me. But, you know, James Avery, you know, near and dear to my heart, rest in peace. He was the ultimate Uncle Phil. He was everyone's uncle, man. He was everyone's father figure, and that was needed for that. You know, I hate Carlton though. Carlton, man. I was watching this shit, man. I was like, what is this, man? What is he on? He's on Adderall, cocaine, right? Like he's on all types of stuff, man. Like the first episode, he pushed Will into the pool. I was like, bro, you're tripping. All right, yeah, but you know, maybe there's a breakthrough for him.
Carlton is an interesting character because he very much never wanted Will there. You know, he was, you know, Bel-Air Academy, it's his school and, you know, his friends and it's his territory. And, you know, quickly within the first 3 or 4 episodes, you know, he sees Will try to take his ex-girlfriend, which apparently, you know, that was that issue. And then, you know, Will's at the school and he's trying to make fun of him, and Will quickly, you know, rebounds, literally makes the basket team. You know, then you see the parents ended up at Will's basketball game instead of his lacrosse game. And, you know, Will was helping Uncle Phil get acclimated and helping with his campaign to be district attorney. So yeah, at every turn of an episode, it was Carlton pretty much having a fucking hissy fit because he wasn't getting this.
For sure.
Yeah, he's a bitch.
Yeah, for sure. It's wild too because shout out Alfonso Ribeiro. Fonz, that dude, I remember him watching him in Silver Spoons, you know, like back with him and Ricky Schroeder, which we not fucking with Ricky Schroeder anyway. You know, he was I promise to stay, you know, political free on this, and I'm not going out of route. You know who Rick Schroeder is. I ain't gotta say nothing more on that. But anyway, Alfonso Ribeiro played in Silver Spoons. And he was awesome. And he also played, you know, Carlton. Carlton was a goofball, right? But he didn't have a malicious bone in his body, right?
No, he was not vindictive.
Yeah,
though.
And so that's the difference in this. And I understand it, you know, having a character like this, but you know, it's a little tough to watch, man. You know, Hillary being in the social media house, right? Like. Mm-hmm. You got Michael Ealy in the episodes, right? Like, which out of nowhere. You know, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Like, I like the, you know, topics of, you know, defunding the police. Like, there's a whole bunch of relevant topics in this show, and it's not overkill either.
No, it's not. I mean, even for like with, you know, with talking about Hillary, like. She had the one episode where she wanted to be a chef and she wanted to stand out. Right. And she wanted to do her own cuisine. And, you know, and many times in our culture, you know, when you stand out and you're trying to make it or you're trying to get the attention or get noticed, a lot of times those companies that are chains or big brand or big box companies, they try to mold you into something else or try to tell you that what you're doing doesn't fit a narrative or doesn't fit what our demographic is looking for. And that's important for me too, just out of what we're trying to be as creative people. And you know, you don't want to dumb yourself down just so you make it, per se, in any industry. So I thought that was cool that they touched on that. Like, you know, they're touching on, you know, Uncle Phil, you know, it lives out in, you know, in Beverly Hills and, you know, in Bel-Air, but, you know, his roots are, you know, he came from something else, and, you know, they're
Omicron.
Right, he's being out. he's pretty much being outed when, you know, he's big time and he's Hollywood and he's $1 billion, you know, banks or whatever. And so there's all sorts of different stereotypes that they are highlighting that, you know, we deal with every day. You know, Will, you know, with the fight, you know, got into a fight. My mom's got scared.
Right.
You know, reenacting that, and you know, him having flashbacks of getting arrested and, you know, being, you know, the police, you know, roughing him up a little bit extra. Like, it definitely touches on a lot of things that we've either seen, taken part of, or what's happening now.
For sure.
You know, making it a part of this rebrand of Bel-Air and making it really capturing it. It grabs you because something about that show, you know, is something you could relate to.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. You know, I mean, even Ashley, you know, going through, you know, her sexual, you know, identity. I thought that was huge, you know, because that there are middle school kids and high schoolers who are trying to figure that out as well, too. So, like, I thought that it's been classy as well, you know, of the topics that they've been kind of covering, you know, but it's been well put together. And, you know, I mean, it's not, you know, Will Smith, you know, his fun, you know, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air show. It's not that. Bel-Air came from a trailer that, you know, a group of individuals made, and they kept me and they got the attention of Will, like, because it was on a YouTube thing. You know, they make the fan made trailers. These guys went all out with that, and, you know, it got the attention of, you know, Will and a few executives, and they made a show about that. Like, that shit's amazing. And so, because and I think it was so amazing because, like I said, it was so different from what it was. This is not your Saved by the Bell reboot, you know, your Fuller House, like, none of those things. Like, and, you know, it's needed for that. We need some more positive black shows, in a sense, you know what I mean? Like, because not every show has to do with drug dealing and some other bullshit, you know what I mean? Gang banging, et cetera, et cetera. Like, whatever. We need more shows like this. So I'm with it. You know, yeah, I'm excited to see the rest of it. I'm excited to see them for season 2 and going forward, and being on Peacock gives them the platform that they can, you know, be a little bit more explicit. So I'm with it. I'm a fan.
Yep, I agree totally.
Yep. Switching gears, UFC. There was a big talking shit campaign that happened over the weekend, and it under-delivered. And I was with Masvidal and your boy Kobe Covington. And yeah, it was. I'm not even gonna talk about it too much on that. Saw the fight. What are your thoughts, man?
So, Masvidal comes out hot. You know, tries the flying knee. You know, he's throwing haymakers. He's pretty much gassing himself out. You know, he's, you know, and Kobe wore him down. You know, that wrestling style. You know, he did what he needed to do. He dragged the fight out. You know, took him down when he needed to. He avoided getting knocked out. You know, he ground and pound. He had dominant positions a lot of the fight, and he clearly won the fight. Like, there was not any issue with, you know, being a unanimous decision. It just, like you said, they definitely tried to WWE it as far as the lead up to it, and the former friends, now bitter rivals, and, you know, it was very staged. Even though they do hate each other, they egged it up. You know, they definitely, you know, tried to make the match bigger than what it really was, which was,
for sure,
you know, a guy, well, neither guy can be Usman, but two guys who are below the champ, who, you know, had beef, and, you know, it makes for great TV, but the end result just was flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Masvidal won the second round. I mean, but, you know, that's when he looked like he was trying to do something. But then, you know, Covington, 16 minutes of ground control in a, you know, 25-minute match. Like, that's a lot. You know, it's not much that you can do on that, you know what I mean? And Masvidal is a stand-up guy. You know, he's looking for the knockout. And so I thought that was a smart game plan for him, but it's just boring fighting. I don't like that shit. I want to see two guys go toe-to-toe. If the blood is and the hatred is that, you know, much, even though I do feel like it was a work. And, you know, they try to do the same thing with Gilbert Burns and, you know, Usman. You know, it's like, oh, former training partners, blah, blah, blah. Now, you know, enemies, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, man. Like, it's all love, man. They just got, just the next opponent that you got to go through, which leaves a interesting spot for both fighters going forward. So, Masvidal, his last fight was against Usman, right? That was the one he got knocked out. That was his last fight, right?
Mm-hmm. I think they both last fought Usman,
right?
Last.
Yeah, right. So, Covington, he would be the champ. Like, the only two fight. Well, he lost a match early in his UFC career, but the last two matches that he lost was against Usman, and Usman is clearly the pound for pound best fighter in the world. Like, there's no doubt in that. The welterweight division is interesting. So Covington is ranked number 1. And okay, what do you do? We gonna see the third fight between Usman? I don't want to see it, right? Whatever. Like, it's gonna be same result again, right? Like, how many times you gonna keep fighting this guy and keep losing, right? Like, broke his jaw the first time. The second fight was a little closer, but it really wasn't. Whatever. Masvidal might have to. He has 50 fights on his belt, man. He might just have to wrap it up. I think this is a time for him that it just. 50 fights, man, not including backyard fighting, right? Kimbo Slice, rest in peace, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. They created that backyard fighting, created the bare knuckle fighting now that they got going on.
I was going to say that pretty much was the beginning of bare knuckle fighting.
Yep.
Which is now a thing.
Yeah. Crazy. So the welterweight division, like I said, Usman is clearly number 1. Covington is, the number 1 contender. And, you got Gilbert Burns. You got a few other guys. I think Wonder Boy is in it.
Leon Edwards. That was the guy. He beat Diaz, but almost lost.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see, man. That is the least competitive division that we got going on right now. So, I would love to see, I guess, when Usman comes back, if him and Izzy might want to, lock it up one time. That might be fun. We'll see, man. Although I heard that Usman wants to fight Canelo, and I don't know how this is gonna work, right? It's like, is it UFC rules, right? Like, I mean,
no, they never. The boxer never wants to take off the boxing gloves. There'll always be. The UFC fighter does stand up with a boxer. It'll never be where a boxer freaking goes in the cage barefoot with 2-ounce gloves or whatever they are. So
4 ounce, for sure.
It'll never be that.
But here's an interesting take, though. So you have Usman, who has a metal jaw, right? This dude's jaw is phenomenal. Has a pretty good stand-up game, but, he could take some punches. I just don't know how that will work out with Canelo. Canelo is a monster. And I just don't know. Like, how would you be able to even up those odds, right?
Yeah. I don't know. And honestly, it's easier. Well, they've made the point, but there's definitely more money in boxing than there is in MMA per fight.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you make the boxing thing a super fight.
Right.
You got the Paul brothers making tons of money off of these show fights. So for Usman should just go box Canelo and make triple the money, at the box office than he would having Canelo even try to step into an octagon.
For sure. Yeah. There's a lot of talk, man. Big Brock Lesnar, my dude. The ultimate babyface. Dana White has been kind of teasing, and his name has been floating around of a possible return. And Brock is 44, man. He's like, he never really ruled it out until just a day ago, and he's like, I'm too old, man. He's like, this is a young man sport, and that door is closed. I'm Brock Lesnar, the WWE superstar. And it brought up an interesting point. So his last fight was against Mark Hunt, and he whooped on Mark Hunt, and they unfortunately had to root it at no contest because Brock had some foreign substance in the system. So, foreign substance.
Yes.
Anyway, you're right. Air quotes. Brock is 286, man. Like, that's a lot of weight to cut because you got to get down to 265. Like, and John Jones is talking shit, right? Like, he's like, I want to fight Brock. And it's like, no, you still don't want to fight Brock. Like, this just Like, he's a better wrestler than you. Okay. Like, first and foremost. All right. Like, don't think the WWE shit is something, right? Like, Brock, you know,
still is a world-class wrestler, right?
World-class wrestler, 3-time national champion, you know, in the heavyweight division. Like, Brock is no joke. Like, you don't see that guy in a wrestling format. Like, that just doesn't work out. You know, what John think he gonna hit him? You know what I mean? Like, he gonna strike him? Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, what's the advantage of that? You know, like, you throw a leg kick out and it's just on the head.
He would have to try to chop him down in the legs. He would have to stick and move. He would have to length. He would have to use his speed. He would have to avoid getting mauled and suplexed, basically.
And that's the thing too. Who's faster, right? Because don't think just because we're saying Brock is 286, you know, that he's slow. Brock is arguably one of the fastest people, you know, in terms of like shoots, etc. That's that dude. So anyway, man, yeah, I don't blame him for being at 44. He had to drop 21 pounds of muscle. Like, that's a lot, man. This dude, man, he's not a body percent is not high on that guy. Yeah, not at all.
No, I think he's just in the point of his life where he's comfortable in doing what he's doing, and I don't think he's got necessarily that itch, and I don't think there's a certain amount of money that'll make him go back. So at this point, you know, he's a made man with Vince. So why go mess with Dana when Vince gets you everything you want, literally,
right.
And you don't have to be, you know, it's not as rigorous. Like, you won't get beat up. I mean, they get beat up, but
yeah, they get beat up for sure.
You know, it's just there's levels to it, and he obviously understands that part of his life is done. Like, there's no UFC back. It's I'm an entertainer. I get paid millions of dollars. I am who I am, which he's, you know, a legend. He's made a name for himself that he's still brought up, and it'll never happen that he goes back. But just a simple a mention, a nugget, a tidbit. I talked to Brock the other day, and that's news. Like, they could have just had a run in, or, you know, he could have just been there and they spoke in passing. But it'll make news because it's Brock Lesnar. Yeah,
it's funny. Like, I remember he was supposed to fight, you know, talks about him and fighting DC, Daniel Cormier, you know, and that was right after the Stipe fight. And, you know, DC won the belt and Brock gets in the ring and it's like a shoving match, you know what I mean? That was supposed to happen. But, you know, ultimately, I think DC didn't want to take that fight. You know, I think that would have been pretty bad for him, even though, you know, DC is a world-class wrestler. It's a different level, man, between having, you know, world-class wrestler and then elite, you know, Brock Lesnar. Like, it's just different levels of this shit. And DC didn't want no part of that. But, you know, him referring to himself as, you know, WWE superstar. So there's been a few notable guys who went from, you know, WWE to MMA and vice versa. So test your knowledge real quick of some quick guys who was on there. And I'm not just saying UFC. We just talking about guys and the girls. So we know obviously Ronda is the most recent, right? Who else is out there? Old school cats.
Recent Matt Riddle. Old school. So Ken Shamrock, Steve Blackman, man, who else? Who am I missing?
Well, I mean, it was weird. We had what was that? Bobby Lashley. He was MMA, right? Like, he had a few fights. But Dan the Beast Severn.
Oh yeah, Dan Severn.
Yeah, Dan the Beast, man. That dude was
I knew
awesome.
There was somebody else missing.
Yeah, he was a big one, of course. So yeah, who are your top 3 all-time fighters, man?
All time. Just off the top of my head, John Jones, George St. Pierre, Rampage.
Okay. Great fighters, man. Those dudes are phenomenal. Yeah, mine's Chuck Liddell, Conor, and, you know, man, kind of changed that damn sport, man. You know, making it extremely marketable.
Well, if you said Rushmore, he'd have been the fourth, but you said top
for
three.
Sure. Right. Yeah, I said top three. The Spider. Man, Anderson Silva, I ain't never seen nobody fight like that guy. Still to this day, he was phenomenal, man. Like, Lord have mercy. If I was thinking around Rushmore, I'll put Usman up there. He would be, you know, I think, you know, John is something, man, that, you know, he did it for so long. And I mean, there's no knock on John Jones, man. But I think Usman's that guy, man. You know, and I don't see that dude, you know, I've never seen a fighter get better. Yeah. You know, like, and that's the part, like, right. Like Woodley was the champ, right? And Woodley was a world-class wrestler, you know what I mean? And I've never seen Woodley get dominated like that. And from fight to fight, literally, he's like, okay, so you're a stand-up guy, I'm gonna fight you stand-up. If you're a wrestler, I'm gonna out-wrestle you. You know, like, it's super strategic, man, and he's always improving. You know, sometimes when you get to the top, man, you get really stagnant, you have boring-ass fights. Like, Usman is electric, man, and you know, he's looking for the way to hurt you, for real. So, you know, those are my all-time favorites, man. You know, I will also fight, you know, throw out Sugar Shane. I mean, not Sugar Shane, fucking name. Sugar Rashad. Yeah. Sugar Shane, I was thinking Sugar Shane Mosley. Right. But no, Sugar Rashad Evans, man. He was electric. I remember the UFC fighter, him and Rampage, right? That was awesome. Rampage, you know, BA off of the A-Team, right? That was a great movie, man. I love that movie. Yeah, man. It was Chuck Liddell, the Iceman, man. I remember watching this. I remember watching it live back in the day. That was with him and Tito Ortiz, right? And then, you know, him and Randy Couture. And so they had a 30 for 30 about that, man. And them dudes, man, they used to battle.
The Huntington Beach bad boy.
Yeah, right? Crazy. Man, we talk about, like, you know, like filling up arenas and things of that nature, man. Like, let's talk about concerts. Like, what's the best concert you ever attended? And you can give me a couple of them too. You get throw out a couple of them, because sometimes it's just not enough to just be able to sum up, you know, one, you know, awesome concert that was the best concert you ever been to. So, like, now that kind of COVID is over with too, we kind of getting back to that.
Yeah. So there's, I guess I can go different venues. So
okay.
The best small venue concert I've ever been to would be, I can't even remember the year, but it was the year before, it was right after Drake dropped. And I went to a concert at Kent State University at their basketball arena, and it was Drake. Okay. And it was before the Thank Me Later album came out, so it was only based off the mixtape. And it was a crazy show, because that was the beginning of the Drake we know, and you could just see it coming. So that show was crazy, just because it was so small. It was like a $20 ticket. I mean, it was a great show. I mean, we've together been to quite a few shows. You know, I think we've seen Jay-Z 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I think it was 3 times we've seen Jay.
But honestly, just let me think. So probably not even rap concerts. Like Chris Brown was a crazy concert at Blossom.
I mean, you have to throw in Chris Brown, man.
that was a hell of a show. I mean, there was. Okay. I think that was when. So it was Omarion, because he had the Supposed to Be song. And
was that the You Got Served tour?
No, it wasn't. It was a Chris Brown tour.
Okay.
But then who else was it? That was Fetty Wap, the summer of Fetty Wap.
Oh, okay. And he said Omarion. So did he do Touch?
Yes, he did all his songs. But yeah, that was the summer of Fetty Wap. So that was a crazy concert, outdoor concert at Blossom. And then honestly, hands down, the best concert scene was Timberlake. Yeah, the Man of the Woods tour, and shut it down. That was.
Oh, he had the Tennessee Kids with him too.
A show. Yes. That was, man, 3 hours of screaming, singing every song from all the albums. He did the NSYNC stuff.
Okay.
He was doing, AO technology hooks.
Okay.
He was, doing the carry out with Timberland, everything. Okay. In the middle, and the craziest part about that whole concert, in the middle of the concert, LeBron came out, stops the show. This might have been the year after we won the title.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say Man in the Woods came out was 2017.
So he comes out, stops the whole show. He's got a bottle of tequila. I don't think it was his yet, but he's passing out shots to everybody. It's crazy because he walked
in typical Brown fashion.
Typical Brown fashion. He walked through. He walked up on stage, just paused the show. Toasted JT, did some shots. Okay. At that point, he's the king of the city, so ain't nobody gonna stop him from stopping the show. And I think Timberlake ended up at the game the next night, courtside. Okay. He was wearing Jordan 3s. Like, that was an amazing show, top to bottom, start to finish. JT killed it.
Okay. Yeah. Man, I saw NSYNC.
I should have went to NSYNC. Are you talking like in the early 2000s?
Yeah, so I saw it was 2001. I just graduated high school. My aunt, she used to work, my Aunt Doris, shout out Aunt Doris. She used to work for Gund Arena, and she also worked for the Cleveland Browns Stadium. And so she would occasionally get tickets. And so she called me. She was like, Jay, I got a concert tickets you want to go. It's down at the Brown Stadium, and the Brown Stadium had just opened. This is 2001, so I've been open for 2 years, super clean. I was like, yeah, like I'm not doing that today. And so I was calling everybody, man. It's like, y'all want to go, blah blah. I couldn't find nobody, and so I called my boy Carl Morrow, who used to be like my next door neighbor over in Rockside Towers. He's Liberal. Shout out Carl. What's up, man? Where you been at? And so we went. His mom dropped us off, and we went down there, man. And it was a crazy show. It was Black, 3LW, and NSYNC. And during the concert, like they literally we had to, because it was a lightning storm, so we had to go inside. But like it was raining, dude, and it was the craziest thing. These dudes, it was the celebrity tour, and so that was with Dirty Pop and Gone and so forth. Oh yeah, and Girlfriend was on that album, and man, these dudes shut it down. It was amazing. Like, they had the pyrotechnics. They was flying through the air, like, and they was doing this shit in the rain. I was like, it was awesome. So
peak NSYNC.
Oh, peak NSYNC, man. Hey man, that was a hell of a concert. So that was you reminded me about that one. As a kid, man, my favorite concert, Criss Cross. I saw Criss Cross at the IX Indoor Amusement Park. IX Indoor Amusement Park. I don't even think they had that shit no more.
No, the building's still there. They don't do they might bring it back because they just did the auto show, so it might come back. But for a while, the IX Center was closed through COVID, but it might come back. Okay. I saw Criss Cross too, but it was not at the IX Center. It was at there was a venue somewhere in Beechwood, and I can't think of what it was called. But I saw Criss Cross too. Probably
we got to come back to that one.
But there was a venue that used to be somewhere on Sugar and Boulevard, and I saw TLC, MC Light, and Criss Cross.
Oh shit!
That was my first concert.
Okay, that's crazy. I don't know what venue that is, but we'll have to. Oh, y'all Cleveland people, man, who listening up, y'all remember that shit? I don't know that one. Yeah. I was not in the neck of the woods of Beechwood back then when Criss Cross was out. But yeah, Criss Cross, man, that was crazy. I went and saw them. And my dad, like, I remember this, like, I couldn't see, so he picked me up, put me on his shoulders. And we talking 92, so I might have been honestly probably about 100 pounds at that point, man. And so he never let me forget it. He was like, that was the last time I picked you up like that. Hard Night Life Tour. Rest in peace, DMX. That was crazy. Man, that was a proud time too, man. Like, I mean, that was Redman after man. You had obviously The Rock. Yep. You know, like the whole Rock family was there, and then DMX. You know, Jada was there at that point, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then Jay shut it down, and so that was crazy. I remember going to school the next day, had my Rough Riders bandana. You know, yeah, that was in my back pocket, right? And so, you know, obviously all the Jay-Z concerts, man, was awesome. Foo Fighters, man, I've seen Foo Fighters twice. Yeah, and we just saw them just recently down in Fresno, and I mean, these dudes put on the show. But my best show that I seen them at was in Cincinnati. This was 2017, and these dudes performed for like 5 hours. I never forget that shit. Like they had a guy come out. Well, they had a group come out for about, you know, a 45-minute set, and I was a little bit on the shorter side because I thought they were going to give us an hour, and they were great. And then, you know, Foo Fighters come out, man, and just the sets that they had. I mean, they put on a show, and then they did an encore, came back and did another 90 minutes. Like it was like one of our first date nights me and Rock had, you know, and you know, since Ryan was born. And so it was wild, man. I mean, these dudes put on a show. I saw Nine Inch Nails and Soundgarden one time out here, and the shoreline of Amphitheater out Mountain View. That was crazy too. Yeah, man, I miss concerts. I would love to go see a new concert, you know, like.
Is there anyone you would like to see that you hadn't seen?
Man, I would love to go see Silk Sonic. I would love to go see them. You know, Anderson .Paak, man, that dude is phenomenal. And Bruno, right? I already know Bruno puts on the show, and so I think that will be, you know, I remember seeing Talib. Down at Peabody's, right next to CSU campus.
Right.
And that was the Eardrum tour. That was fun. I love that. I don't know, man. I don't know if I would see Ye. I think if they did another Watch the Throne tour, right? Like that would be fun. I think that will be, you know, like on the dream list of concerts. I'm trying to think. I would love to see a versus format in concert.
Sure.
Like I would love to see, you know, Tim and Pharrell go at it, either head to head in the versus format, you know. Like I would love to see something like that where they made like an actual tour out of it, and, you know, producers, it was very similar to what we talked about the first episode, you know what I mean? Like it literally have a ring, you know, have like hit for hit. I think that'd be fun. One guy I would love to see, man, I would love to see Fonte and Little Brother. I would love to see them at some point. Rapper Big Pooh, you know, that will be, you know, like kind of like my dream concerts now at this point.
Okay.
I would have loved to see Prince again. That's one that I, you know, I would have loved to see Queen, you know, like I would love to see, you know, like those types of acts, you know, especially now, you know, that would have been incredible.
Prince seems like that would have been an amazing show. You know, I listened to, you know, Bomani Jones, and he definitely talks about a lot about Prince and how it was an experience. You know, it was not just a show or a concert, but it was just something you just had to experience. That it was just something that you really couldn't, you know, put into words. You just had to be there, or, you know, be around that time. So for me, I guess like that would be another Blossom concert. I saw Lil Wayne, and that would have been around the Carter 3.
Okay.
And so that was a big time for Lil Wayne, and he was the biggest artist in the world. And that was,
for sure,
you know, that was something that I'm like, I gotta go see him. Just, you know, we've seen most of, like you said, outside of Kanye, I think we've seen most of the, you know, our favorite artists. And so I was like, that's, you know, I gotta see Wayne, I gotta see Jay. You know, we saw Jay every time Jay was here. Yeah, for sure. If we were together.
I missed a concert of the 2020 tour. That was with him and JT. I missed that one. They had it at Candlestick. I didn't go to that one either. I don't know why. I missed that one. I was pissed about it. Like I was so angry. Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that there's, a ton of acts at this point, man, that, I think that smaller venues, bigger venues, etc., it will be awesome to start seeing a lot more acts, do some more stuff. I would love to see Kendrick.
Yep.
Yeah, I think seeing Kendrick or Cole would be...
Bro, I saw
worth
Cole,
it for sure.
I saw Cole before he got signed. I think
really
it was one of the times that you didn't go. I think it was me and Rome, and he opened. He had just got signed by Jay, and
really.
So there was no material. He just came out and spit some rhymes because that was also Wale prior to MMG. So that would have been attention deficit.
Right.
Album. So Cole had bars then. Young J. Cole.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Fresh haircut.
Right.
Fresh out the Ville. That was a show. And he just came out and was like, I just got signed. He spit a couple bars and then he walked off. I was like,
wow.
I don't know if that guy's going to be something, but he might be something.
Oh, for sure. I think the first time I ever heard him was on Just Begun. And that was Reflection Eternal. And that was him and Jay Electronica. And he destroyed that. Yeah. I remember you said Kent State. And so we used to have concerts all the time up there. And so I remember seeing Nappy Roots. They performed outside the student center.
I was with you
at that.
I was there for
Spring
that.
Fest, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? Yeah, exactly. So that was fun, man. And so it was weird seeing. I didn't know Kanye did work for them, man. I had no idea. Yeah, that was that took me back seeing them on the documentary. So everything comes full circle, man. So you need to get some rest. Sometimes we record and it'd be hella late over there. It's 3 hours behind. So it's probably good morning at this point.
Good morning.
So I keep talking about guests, and so now we're actually about to get into it. Next week we got a special guest. Our good old friend and pro wrestling referee Stephen Kai Douglas will be on air with us, and it's actually kind of funny because it's leading into WrestleMania week.
'Tis the season,
right? Oh, love it. We'll have him on next week, talk about his path and into hey, fun fact, he went to school with Tidmore High School, which is...
We're old and he's younger, but he's old too.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So, he's been a pretty awesome journey. And so we'll have him on next week. And then we got a few more guests coming up very soon through the pipeline. So excited to have you guys joining us for that. Just... Thank you again.
Yes.
We appreciate the love and support. We're going to continue to keep saying that because you know what? Hey, we wouldn't be here doing this shit if that wasn't the case.
You guys listen. We put out the product. We get better. It all goes hand in hand.
Absolutely. So, brother, peace out, man.
Good seeing you.